Hello and welcome to another vintage day. It was New Year's Eve last night and we've just said goodbye to 2020, which most of us are happy to do so as it's been a pretty tough year, and we're in 2021. And over the holidays our family didn't exchange many gifts. There didn't seem to be much to celebrate about except just to enjoy each other. And I looked around my house and I thought to myself, what did I really want? And I wanted to take my grandmother's sewing machine and bring it up to good working order again. I loved sewing on this machine, but it's been 20-30 years or so since I've really done anything on it. So it needed a little love and care. A little bit about this sewing machine. I think it's from 1927. And I don't even know how I acquired it. When my grandmother passed away, I was not living nearby, and somehow when I returned from Europe, it just kind of ended up in my possession, which I'm so grateful for. The little back history on this sewing machine is that I would always go to visit my grandparents, and we spent a lot of time with them, and I was just mesmerized by the movement of the pedal in the wheel from early on, and I always saw my grandmother using it and thinking, oh, I would like to be able to do that sometime. But my grandma and my mother didn't want me to sew on this because I thought that I would hurt myself. Well, one day they went to church and I decided that I would show them. And I got some fabric and I sat down and sewed myself an apron. It even has a little pocket on it. I can't believe I have kept it all these years because that is a long time ago. And another amazing thing about it is how well it's sewn and how straight the seams are. I'm quite shocked. Well, when they returned, I showed them this, and I was probably all of, I don't know, 7 years old maybe. They didn't scold me, but they now knew that I could use the sewing machine and that I was a very willful child. Well, they probably knew that already. But from then on, I would do little projects on the sewing machine. So, very near and dear to my heart. And actually, a lot of the things in the drawers are still just as my grandmother left them. They were always, little medicine bottles filled with little tacks and pins and nails. They saved everything, every single button, little scraps of fabric, everything. Because, they'd lived through the 30s and they remembered what it was like to have nothing. The fabric that you see on here, my grandmother put that on there and she used it to put her pins as she was sewing, and I've just never removed it. And it makes me feel like she's close by. But the machine did need some cleaning, and so I did a lot of research on YouTube. Wonderful thing YouTube is, it can teach you how to do a lot of things. I also needed to replace the leather belt on it because it was slipping. So I found one of those, ordered it, and of course, again, thanks to YouTube, I was able to attach it and make it work. But it's been kind of a fun little adventure learning how to use this. The book that was with it is it's just soaked with sewing machine oil. Her oil can and her book were all in one drawer, and the pages are so oil soaked that you can't hardly read or see the illustration differences from one page to another. But there's a great online resource center that has all of these informations, and I'll put that in the link. Really great to find some information about the Singer sewing machines. And as I was taking this project on, I have a friend who is a quilter, and she was interested in what I was doing, and she said, by the way, did you know my grandfather sold Singer sewing machines? And so she took me in and she showed me some pictures on her wall, and there is her picture of her grandfather and his kids. So his mother is in the her mother is in the picture, and he has this car out in front of his shop, and he actually has a sewing machine tied on to the back of his rig. So he was quite prolific, and it was in Colorado. And he also went to the Native American reservations, and he was helping them to learn how to sew on the machines. And so they didn't have a lot of money, so he would give them sewing machines, and they would pay him with trading blankets. So she even showed me a couple of the blankets that were her grandfather's. So I thought that was really interesting, and what a little bit of history that we really don't know. He believed in, helping better everybody else. He was a real go-getter, quite an entrepreneur. In his early life, he was also a photographer. So he was just really a neat guy, a real go-getter, and I think she gets a lot of that from him. So I'm going to look at a few other things here as we go over the machine and see how it works. Again, I am so thrilled to have this machine, and I'm looking forward to a more slower paced life. 2020 has definitely showed me that that's the direction that I want to go, and I just needed kind of a wake-up call. And I'm looking forward to trying some projects on this. I have not seriously sewn in over 30 years, maybe longer than that. Do a little hemming or something now and that in the button, but I've really let it go, and I love vintage clothing. I have quite a collection of vintage clothing or vintage looking clothing, and I'll start sharing some of that in the future with you, because at the point in my life I just basically woke up one day and said, that's it. This is the look that I like, and I love it, and it feels right when it's on. And from the very first day that I did that, the difference between how people look at you and interpret you, it's just amazing. And it was all good. I mean, I was scared to death to do it for many years, and once I did it, I have never looked back, and I have never been happier. And I have a lot of little girls come up to me with just, mesmerized by me, and they're just like, oh, I love your outfit. And it's like, well, you can dress like this, there's no law against it. And they're just so intrigued. If more people could learn to be themselves at a lot younger age, I think we'd be a lot happier. I know I would have been. So this is my adventure, bringing back my grandmother's sewing machine and learning how to sew again, because there's so many things that I want and I can't go find them in the stores. And if I do find interesting things, generally in thrift stores or things that have been given to me, I'd like to be able to alter them so they fit a little bit better. So this is my 2021 mission that I'm going to do for myself. This is my project. Self-improvement, whatever you want to call it, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I hope you guys are able to come up with something that makes you happy and can fill your time while we're in this transition. No matter what it is. I have a cousin who's painting, and she's amazing. But it took all of us just this little bit of time to really sit down and do what we like, learn what we like. So I hope you get a chance to do that. Let's take a look at this machine. If you are interested in getting an older sewing machine, I'd recommend that you'd get a Singer. There were so many of them made that it's easy to find information. I believe all Singer sewing machines have a serial number. This makes it easy to date the machine and find parts. Be sure to take your machine apart and clean it well. If you've located the manual for your machine, you will know how to oil it. Some parts may be hard to get apart, and sometimes you just need to get creative. Giving the cast iron legs a good cleaning and a shine is the final touch. I've oiled it, I've rethreaded it, cleaned it, and so now we're about ready to see if she'd like to work. See if I'm coordinated enough to do this. I haven't heard that sound in over 20 years. Well, the stitching isn't perfect, but I think that's probably due to my lack of being smooth with the treadle. So we'll try it a few more times, but honestly, it looks really good. getting much better. It just takes a rhythm to keep going, and you can really get some serious work done on this machine. I'm so happy. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a chance to take some time and find out what makes you happy. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up and please share it. It really does help me. I'll see you next time.